let's talk about Obamacare. So President Obama announced that premiums for people on the affordable are with insurance policies underneath the Affordable Care Act. According to the Associated Press, President Obama now announced that those premiums will drastically increase next year. One case outlined a person in Arizona who had a policy that premium of about $114 a month would potentially see his premium quadruple to over $400 a month. So the question is begged, like, how the hell did this happen, right? Where are the failings in Obamacare? Well, for those of us who saw this on the horizon, so you have two critiques. Let's start with the Republican critique, and then we'll get to the leftist critique, because the leftist critique is actually the right critique, right? The Republican critique is pretty fatuous in that, one, this is their idea, right? They have nothing to critique because Obamacare is essentially Romney care. It's a Republican conservative think tank idea that President Obama took credit, implemented, yeah, but it's still a Republican idea. So there is a gaping hole of substance, or the lack thereof, in terms of a Republican alternative to the Affordable Care Act. As bad as the Affordable Care Act is panning out to be, and we'll discuss the reasons why, because it simply say, oh, it's a failure is rudimentary, elementary, and we don't do that here, right? But this is all you're going to get from a lot of critics. Oh, it's terrible. And then Republicans go one step further and say it's terrible and we need to repeal and replace. But with what? The only person who presented something that was remotely that could remotely be considered an actual plan was Jeb Bush. And Jeb Bush's policies, his policy on health care actually came to the detriment of minorities and poor people, which are overwhelmingly minorities, unfortunately. Right. So he was genuine enough to be truthful. But his policy, once you looked at Jeb Bush's policy, his proposed replacement to Obamacare was ridiculous in the sense that it came at the expense of the most vulnerable. But outside Jeb Bush's ridiculous attempt, at least it was an attempt, there's no concrete plan on the table to replace the over 10 million people who are getting benefits from Obamacare now. And I don't care what nobody says. Listen, I have great insurance now, great. But for a long, very long gap in my life, I lived without insurance. And I don't care what anybody says. Bad insurance is better than no insurance, because bad insurance can keep you from getting a $10,000 bill at the emergency room, because at least you can go to a primary care and tell them that you have your chest pains. You think you're having chest pains, and they can help you understand that it's just acid reflux versus spending $10,000 in the emergency room for 6 hours for them to tell you it's acid reflux. Right. So it is. And as you see the story in the AP, you really should read the AP breakdown of it, because it's actually really good. It does go into the fact that there's a lot of crappy coverage. But if you've ever lived without insurance, for as long as I have lived without insurance, and as long as many Americans have lived without insurance, you'll take whatever you can get until you can get something better. And that's the problem. Nobody is proposing on the right. We'll talk about the leftist critique, which is the right critique. But nobody on the right. Donald Trump is running around saying that they're going to repeal and replace. He doesn't have a single plan to replace Obamacare, except all they want to do is repeal it, which is going to leave millions of Americans without any insurance. And trust me, you don't want to go to the emergency room without insurance, because you will pay $500 for a shot of Pepsid when you can go to the over-the-counter to get Pepsid AC for $10. I think I paid $100 for a Tylenol because I didn't have insurance. So as crappy as the coverage is, people are actually able to go. Now, Here's one of the problems with Obamacare. It's because it did not have a public option to begin with. And because they tried to make a quasi-universal coverage with the private sector has the ability to say, this is not working out for our bottom line, so we're out. And in fact, in the AP article, it actually outlined that one of the reasons, there's really three reasons that this is failing. One, not enough people are enrolling. OK, so that's just the problem of America, right? That's everybody's fault or nobody's fault, however you want to look at it. The second part is the reason that Obamacare is in trouble right now. It's because the insurance companies literally said that people were sicker than they expected. I mean, listen to that. They're backing out of the markets, which means there's not enough competition now, right? So they had the ability to get access to a brand new pool of people that they never had access to make more money. And then when they realize, oh, these people are sick. They're like legitimately sick. Like they have to go to the doctor 10 times, because 10 times in a month, because for the last 20 years, they never went before. And they realize that these sick people are costing them more money. And so now they've opted out. And I think the options have dropped down from like 300 options down to about 100, give or take, because I'm going off of pure memory here. Right. So now they realize that people were too sick or sicker than what they realized. It's going to hit their bottom line. They're not going to hit the profit margins that they want to hit. So they're out. Boom. Done. And then the third reason Obamacare is in trouble is because of some complex system that they had in place to control the increase in premiums that is not working out the way it's supposed to be. Now, the real story probably is inside of the technical component of whatever algorithm they were using to keep premiums low as possible. But I have not seen anyone really dig into that third component as to why their calculations and how they could help keep the cost of premiums down, not price control, but cost controls, right? Is failing. So those are the three reasons Obamacare is ostensibly in trouble. President Obama has said, well, this is just growing pains. OK, these are some hellified growing pains to see your premiums go from $114 a month to over $400 a month. Right. And that's an extreme example, but that's an extreme example based on what they're predicting right now. The reality of it is we don't know how hard it's going to hit people as the new enrollments start to come in. That's one take. Now, President Obama has since today come out and said and put back on the table the public option. And when I click this applause, it's not for Obama coming out for the public option. It's for everyone who's been saying we need a public option for the longest. Public option back on the table because they realize no matter how much you feed these private insurance companies, they're not going to willingly take on risk that puts their profits at risk. They're just not designed to do that. They're not designed to do anything out of goodwill or for the betterment of society or for the common good, to promote the common welfare. They're not designed to do that. They're there for profit. And we've been saying this. We've been saying this forever. So if you're not going to go with single payer, at a minimum, we should have had a public option. And and they actually had the chance to get the public option in the first place in 2010. But President Obama opted out. And so now on this side of it, we see that there's quote unquote growing pains. Now he's entertaining the public option again. Well, congratulations, President Obama. You're caught up with Bernie Sanders. You caught up with the rest of us who've been yelling public option. As a matter of fact, we're actually yelling single payer because there will always, so long as people have to pay for their health, corporations will always do whatever they can to not help the sickest among us and to charge as much as they can as for health. It's not that they're evil. You can argue that they're evil. That's not my job. It's simply built into the system. It's structured that way that if whatever it is that you need, If somebody is selling it, they have an incentive to charge you as much as they possibly can. And so in your case, in our case, if we need health insurance, then they have an incentive to raise their premiums as much as they possibly can get away with. And they have an incentive not to help people who are chronically ill or whose chronic illness is so expensive that it hurts their bottom line. They have no incentive whatsoever to do that. So at a minimum, a public option should have always been there. And the ideal situation, well, nothing is ever ideal. So I don't want to sell you that pipe dream, because single payer is not without its own problems. But one of the problems would not be insurance companies looking at a pool of people that they said they wanted. This was a corporate giveout. This was a handout to the biggest insurance companies, and then they realized, oh, these people are just too sick. We can't really provide for them. So there's always a place for a public option in every vital service. There should be a public option. There's a public option for education. There should be a public option for healthcare. There should be a public option for living, not ghettos, right? I know there's public housing, but they intentionally make them the ghettos. But there should be, for those vital things that you need to live, there should be a public option for all of them. And maybe because his signature, he doesn't even have enough time to actually fix this, right? So, and it's going over into Hillary's hands. So what the hell? Anyway, just end the conversation there. There's no reason to finish talking about how they're going to fix it. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and/or question?